with your topical, skeptical discussion show. I'm Stephen Knight, and joining me is Iram through your Christmas market in a car, Zam. We can't have that. That's too much.
That was just utterly lame.
Should we go again?
Nah, let's just leave it. The moment's gone now.
The moment's gone. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm speaking from Bradistan today.
Bradistan. So what's happening there?
Well, basically, you know how everyone just kept telling me to fuck off back to where I came from? I did just that.
So, yeah, we should probably explain to people who think we're being incredibly racist that Bradistan is a very playful way of... No, it's just racist, isn't it, basically? It's basically, we're taking the piss out of the fact that Bradford's a very, very well-populated Muslim area.
Yeah, well, mostly, like, South Asians in particular.
South Asian, people of Pakistan, extraction, Bangladeshis. Extraction. Sounds like a military operation, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're extracted from there. And then
20 Bangladeshis now.
Stat. Yeah. But, you know, I must say about Bradford, the food here is always good. What
we're talking about? Oh, yeah. Islam the movie, still out there. I did a podcast on it. I had the director on the show. I've been kind of looking forward to this for a while. You went to a special screening down in London with Maajid Nawaz as present, which we need to talk about shortly, about what's just happened to him. I think Douglas Murray was there as well, is that right?
It's true, yes. So one went for a private screening. It was black tie as well.
I still thought you was going to say it was blackface. I've been reading so many stories about blackface this week. It's just constantly there.
I'm not white, so it was beige face.
Beige face.
I went to that. So basically, it's based on the book, really, and it all was prompted by
not as good as the book, was it?
Squared.
Book's always better.
Are. Oh, of course, but but in the book you can't see Maajid's snazzy outfits.
This is true.
So basically, years ago, there was an Intelligence Squared debate with Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Douglas Murray on one panel, and then Maajid Nawaz and another Muslim speaker on another. And Nawaz argued for the notion Islam is a religion of peace, and he lost.
Yeah, didn't argue very well, I seem to remember.
No. And then afterwards, Sam Harris went up to him backstage, and, you know, there was a bit of a heated argument, and then he accused Maajid of being disingenuous, and then apparently the discussion just came to an end there. But then, you know, lo and behold, they reconnected, like
hang on.
Liam and Noel.
Yeah, I think we've skipped over a very important aspect of this story.
What's that?
Me.
You?
I'm not a prophet, Iram, but I do like to bring people together. A bit like Jesus, but not exactly the same. I think indirectly, in some small way, I may have rekindled their friendship.
Really?
Really.
What did you do?
I've probably banged on about this before, actually. I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if I haven't.
Is it because they both hated you so much that they thought, oh, hang on, we've got something in common?
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think them two were always going to work together on some level. But what happened is I had Sam Harris on my podcast quite some time ago.
Yeah.
And on the podcast, I mentioned Maajid Nawaz to him and said that he was doing great work across our news media to challenge blatant Islamists. He knew what questions to ask. He knew which threads to pull at to expose them on TV. And Sam, to my surprise, said that he knew Maajid and they got off on the wrong foot. And he basically told a little bit of the story you just said there. And kind of suggested that maybe he'd consider talking to him again, or maybe making another effort to speak to him. And then lo and behold, what happens, Iram? Just after the podcast was released, somebody must have listened to it, told Maajid about that specific part, and Maajid, completely out the blue, unsolicited, unprompted, sent a tweet to Sam Harris saying, we should talk, or, words to the effect of that debate wasn't particularly great, or whatever, and then they rekindled the relationship. Published this book, then they've got a documentary out, and did I get any fucking royalties? Or a thank you? No.
Absolutely. Yeah, but you did it out of the kindness of your heart, not for money.
No, I didn't. I wasn't paying.
Right. Well, I think you should pursue that.
Have I mentioned that I was actually supposed to be in the film as well?
Oh my God. What?
I must have mentioned this somewhere. How am I keeping these secrets? Yeah, the director...
Well, I don't really listen to you half the time.
That's what it is. The director of the film, before he was making it, he was researching, reaching out to people. He wanted to speak to me specifically because he knew I'd dipped my toe in this world, and spoke to Maajid and spoke to Sam. And we had about a 90-minute Skype video call, and we just talked about the current political climate, reform, the left, the right, Donald Trump, everything in between. And I was supposed to go down to London to record something for it, and unfortunately the day that he suggested that I was to come down, it's too short notice and I couldn't get out of work, or there was something on anyway. But I'm quite relieved about it, to be honest, because you look at the film and you have these amazing, courageous ex-Muslims and reformers and these big name personalities. Yeah. I know that without a doubt that if I'd have gone down and recorded something, it wouldn't have ended up in the film. There's no way. I would have been kind of sandwiched in between Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Douglas Murray.
Oh, you'd love that though, wouldn't you? I think I wouldn't mind that.
Can you imagine Ayaan Hirsi Ali's talking and this fucking Mank starts, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, but we need like Mank representation.
Yeah.
Too often the North has been just sidelined.
The North remembers.
This is why it's good that we have this podcast, because it's just Northern Hour. Yeah. People get to hear some truth.
Northerners is practically a disability, isn't it? Let's be honest, in terms of a media career. No, but so I'm relieved that I wasn't part of it, if you know what I mean. I'm very happy the way it turned out. So
yeah, come on, how can you compare to like Ayaan?
I know, that's insane, isn't it? So, what did you make of the film in general? I liked it, but not for the reasons most might imagine.
Why did you like it?
Well, I liked it because it didn't... We've been living in this world now and dealing in these arguments for quite some time, so it's not new to us, is it? And it didn't feel like anything that... I didn't feel like I learned anything from it, which it's not a criticism, because I'm obviously invested in this world.
Yeah.
The film was more for people who have never considered this before, who have never thought about the different types of Islam and what reformers are trying to do and what liberals are trying to do, and the relationship between ideology and behaviour and things like that. We know all this. It's like telling your grandma to suck eggs, but the general population are not particularly interested. Or in the nicest sense, quite ignorant of these things. So it felt like something you could just show to a friend who's not dipped his toe in this world, who might just need a basic primer on the issues. So it's almost like an educational tool in a way.
I liked the graphics used in the video.
Well, yeah, it was very professional, well edited, put together. Bravo.
I think what would have been good was just hearing more from those alternative voices, because we heard from Yasmin Mohammed, I think, was in it. Mm-hmm. Faisal Saeed Al-Mutar. There was Harris from the Quilliam Foundation, and he's Northern, so he's repping the North.
Adam fucking Dean.
Oh my god. I would have liked to hear more from the sort of ex-Muslims or the reformer sides, just because I thought, it's well and good Maajid and Sam talking about the theory of it, but, what are these people hearing on the ground as well? What did they think? So I would have liked a bit more of that, but it's still quite an engaging video. And there was a bit of a Q&A afterwards with Douglas Murray, and I was just, my question was, because the reformists are very, very tiny in number, given how you've said that the problem is within Muslim communities themselves, because the majority of them are either Orthodox or conservative, not Islamists, not extremists, not ISIS, because they're a tiny number. Mm-hmm. The vast majority are sort of more conservative, maybe cultural Muslim, or cherry pick what to believe. They make up the majority. How do you trickle down these views to those people then? Because that's where the change needs to come within. And I think Maajid kind of fell short of offering solutions.
Yeah.
And had these dialogues happening within the communities and on a large scale. Sometimes these debates happen, but they're very limited and people get very, very defensive. That was my one criticism. And then they also pointed out that in the years since they've first been having these conversations, so when Douglas Murray first started having debates with Anjem Choudhury and all these other extremists that, you know, when they first started talking about Islam or extremism on TV, Anjem Choudhury would be the go-to person. They'd always have like the nutter Muslim on there.
Yeah.
And now, the debate, he said, has advanced to that level where there are more voices now speaking about this, and there's less of a fear. I know people always say, oh, you can't criticize Islam, you can't say anything about Islam, but I don't think that's strictly true. There's always still that defensive narrative, but there are still more voices out there. Like, you have ex-Muslims on mainstream TV and radio now, which wouldn't have happened years ago. And if it happened years ago, it would have all had to been done anonymously, voices changed, because you couldn't have any of that. And now you have even gay Muslims openly saying that they're gay and Muslim and they don't see a problem with it, and no one's stopping them from speaking out. So I think the debate has kind of moved a bit with time. I mean, we still have issues, but at least we're getting that conversation now.
Sure. I also think we're seeing an increase in apologists, though, as well. There seems to be a business that's a booming, which we might get to at some point. But it might be worth at this point mentioning the horrible news we've seen regarding Maajid Nawaz. Personally, he was in Soho outside a theatre. It's an area of
all
London.
Of
all places to get punched. It's strange, that, isn't it? Yeah, he got some, according to reports, and this has been corroborated with eyewitness testimony, and I believe there's some CCTV footage of the suspect. He was sucker punched from behind whilst racially abused. Someone called him a Paki, which is a racial slur in the UK. It's kind of a shortening of the word Pakistani, but it's only ever used really as a racist slur. It's not really a term of endearment, or at least it never started that way. If it's morphed over the years at any point, so that's horrendous. That's the kind of thing that it feels like something from a bygone era, doesn't it, for that to happen?
Yeah, I mean, Maajid kind of said, he said he grew up with all this. It's not really a surprise, during his childhood, Paki bashing, as they call it, was quite normal. I mean, that kind of slowly died down by the time I went to school. It'd still get called a Paki, but it wasn't as bad as the kind of stuff Maajid had to face in school. And so I guess he's dealt with that before, but I guess it's a bit of a surprise that something like this would still happen. But it's not really, because you can never eradicate racism.
No.
But I think it's more of a it's more of an unusual case, because you don't really have this happen every single day. But what really surprised me the most were the sort of Islamists or the likes of Courtney Wellman, who
Courtney Jezebel. Well, name the problem, Iram.
Okay, Courtney Jezebel, who, they were like, oh, I'm not trying to justify this, but I will. But they were saying, oh, it's bad, but, Maajid has sort of, he kind of goes on the side of racism. He racists and far right people. He's been pandering to them for years now. It's not a surprise that this has happened, and that's a flawed logic. First of all, if you're against racism and racial abuse, then you should be with him no matter what. There shouldn't be any ifs or buts. And also, if the logic is that Maajid has sort of empowered all these racists, then surely he shouldn't be getting beaten up by racists. He should be getting beaten up by, say, Muslims or Asians who feel victimized by the things he said. But he's not been beaten by Muslims or Asian people who thinks he's being racist. He's been beaten up by, I'm guessing, a white person who he supposedly pandered to. This
is really weird, isn't it? Because he's at risk from both extremes of the political spectrum at both ends. So on the sort of Islamist extremist end of it, people don't like him because they perceive him to be an apostate, because he's a reformer. He wants to challenge some of the more murky areas of scripture and reform them and bring them into the 21st century. So for that reason, the man has to have a panic alarm fitted in his house, and he has high security measures whenever he goes anywhere and whenever he speaks publicly. And that's chiefly because of the threat of Islamist fellow Muslims, in a sense. And he also rubs far-right racist up the wrong way. You just see this brown-skinned Muslim-looking guy and assume the worst. So he's, in a roundabout way, to wind up both hideous ends of that scale, he's probably saying something right, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I constantly see some of the stuff that's hurled his way on social media. And if you have a problem with what he says, that's fair enough. You are allowed to disagree with him. But I do see a lot of, quite frankly, racist abuse thrown his way whenever he's on LBC, where he has his show.
That's madness.
Yeah, it really is.
But no, I love Maajid. I don't always agree with everything he does, but I love his principles. I love the way he articulates himself. See, I can't even say articulate. I've got no chance. And he stands for secularism. He stands for human rights. He stands for free speech, equality, all the good stuff. So he puts on a brave face, and he's a very brave man. But you've got to imagine this kind of thing must shake you up a little bit. It can't be pleasant, to put it mildly. And his family must be worried sick as well.
Yeah, I mean, it must be affecting him. But then at the same time, I saw a video of him on Instagram, and he was just in the gym as usual. So I think he's one of those, he just, he's like, keep calm, carry on.
I think he's also
type.
I think he's also somebody, pure speculation again. Here's some pop psychology for you. I think he's also someone who thinks it's important to put on a united front as well. He's got a fuck you mentality. You're not going to bring me down. I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to continue living my life, and I'm going to show you that you're not going to affect me one bit, kind of thing. And I think
because that's what some of these people want.
Yeah, exactly.
They really want to shame you into silence, and you see this happening with other types of crimes, assaults, especially like sexual assaults, where the perpetrator would rather you stay silent because you're going to bring shame on yourself. Well, no, actually, it's shame on you, really, for doing that. And some people, they just go quiet because they really, really don't want any more aggro. They don't want any more assaults or disgusting words coming at their way, whereas Maajid is pretty much the opposite. He just does not give two fucks about anything.
He challenges it, doesn't he? He does like a challenge, that man. So I wish him a speedy recovery, because we need people like Maajid, and we need them out there being safe. So pure solidarity with that man. As far as I'm aware, the police are investigating this. The people have made statements and they're reviewing CCTV. I don't believe anyone's been arrested at the time of recording this podcast. What day is it? It's Wednesday, 20th of Feb. So by the time this goes out on the airwaves, maybe we'll have some better news, who knows. But should we move on to something really cheerful? We have a huge problem in this country with not only young men, I believe upwards of numbers of 900, going over to Syria to fight for ISIS or various other murky reasons. And we also have problems with young girls heading out over there under the impression of becoming a bride to some wonderful Islamic warrior and living the halal life. And it's a problem. We saw a number of girls. How many girls was it from Bethnal Green, including Shamima Begum? Shamina?
So Shamima Begum was one of 3 girls who attended the Bethnal Green Academy who went to join ISIS. So it was Shamima Begum, Amira Abbasi and Khadija Sultana. They left the UK in February 2015. They flew from Gatwick Airport to Turkey after telling their parents they were going out for the day. So you've got 3 minors at the airport travelling to Turkey. And bear in mind, this is when ISIS has already established a caliphate. You just wonder, why did nobody stop them? I mean, I was stopped in fucking Bulgaria the year before purely because I'd come from Turkey and my passport picture looked a bit different from my face. So you just have to wonder. And I'm the least likely recruit for ISIS, let's face it.
Do you reckon?
Well, I mean, I'm like practically a whore in their eyes.
I'm still waiting for someone to Photoshop that image of you in a Kalashnikov.
There is a picture of me with a gun.
What?
It's when I was in Pakistan. Everyone has a gun.
Of course, yes. Now you say it.
It wasn't loaded. I don't know if it was like an AK-47 or something, but I had a gun in my hands. So You know, you heard it here first. Oh
There you
shit!
go.
I'm getting shopped straight to the police now, aren't I? So anyway, basically, after arriving in Raqqa, Shamima Begum stayed at a house with these other newly arrived brides-to-be. It sounds a bit, it just sounds like so innocent that we're just waiting to be a bride, but, you know, you're going to marry a fucking jihadi fighter.
Wonder what that fucking hen party was like.
Yeah, and she applied to marry an English-speaking fighter between 20 and 25. I mean, she was 15 and she wants to marry someone in their 20s. I mean, that would be statutory rape in this country. And why are these men so obsessed with young girls? Anyway, so then she married a Dutch man who'd converted to Islam. She's been with him ever since then, and they escaped from Baghuz, which is ISIS's last territory in eastern Syria, about 2-3 weeks ago. And then Anthony Lloyd from the Times found her in what's been like the scoop of the decade. And we've just seen non-stop interviews of her now. Everything happens as an interview of her. Everyone wants to get an interview with her. I'm a jihadi bride, get me out of here, is what she's saying.
Well, it's probably worth mentioning her father as well, because when it came to light that these girls had left the country, and was it 2015, did you say?
Yeah.
When it came to light that they'd left the country to join the Islamic State, he did a tour of all the news stations and press conferences holding...
Wait. Are you getting her father confused with Amira Abbas's?
Oh, is that not her dad?
No. That's the other girl who went.
I thought they were sisters.
Well, they're all the same, aren't they?
I thought Shamima Begum. Shamima. So no, that's not him then, is it?
No, I know what you're gonna say. So Amira Abbasi was, I think, 16, as was Khadija, I think.
Fuck me, you could just be making these names up, and I'm like, yeah, sure, sounds right.
So it just sounds brown. It's fine. Amira Abbasi's father, at the time, as you pointed out, he was constantly on interviews, blaming everyone, blaming the police, blaming the school, blaming the social services, blaming the Russians. Okay, no, that's a joke. And he was like with this, like pathetic little teddy bear, like, oh, come home, girl, like, please, there's no way she hugged that teddy at home. And, if she did, you probably made fun of it. You just bought a teddy bear, let's face it. So he was going around trying to get everyone to feel sorry for him until it emerged that he'd been going on these Al-Muhajirun demonstrations, burning American flags with his daughter with him.
Yeah, and he was...
So I wonder what led to her radicalisation.
It's a head scratcher. Really sends the noggin for a jogging. Yeah, and also at these rallies that he was at, the Lee Rigby killers were present. The two men who tried to saw off the head of a British soldier in Woolwich were actually present at these marches. These were dangerous, quite radicalised individuals at these marches. So you've got to look at the home, haven't you? So this,
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know the true motivation. So this is quite. So, as you've rightly pointed out, the Times journalist got the scoop of the year, found this woman, who's now a woman, she's 19 years of age, Shamima Begum, found her in a Syrian jail and has interviewed her, and that's created a headache for our Home Office, because what tends to happen usually is these people are put on watch lists, and when they try and traipse back through the airport, they get arrested or they get blown up by drones, which is, some might say, a preferable outcome, depending on how hawkish you're feeling. So I think something like 20% of British ISIS fighters have been killed while in combat. About 400 have returned or something like that. I think I heard this Home Secretary say today.
I can't remember the figures, but there have been some that have come back and they're, I think, being monitored, and there are some that have been arrested.
There's some that have been deemed not a threat or a low-level threat, which concerns me. There
was one, Tarina Shakil. So in 2016, she was a Birmingham mother who took her toddler son to Syria.
Birmingham? No way.
I know. I mean, they never come from, like, I don't know, Dorset.
Aberdeenshire.
Or, like, Winchester.
Aberdeenshire, I'm going to join their fucking caliphate, mate. That never happens, does it?
Exactly. So she was jailed for 6 years for joining ISIS. Because I think when she came back, her defense was she didn't really know what was happening. But, there was a picture of her son with an ISIS banner, and I think he was holding a rifle in his hand. But apart from that, she didn't really know what was going on. So she was the first woman from the UK to be convicted of such an offence. So she's been freed now, and she's currently under license conditions. And, you know, I think she was still bought into that ideology. I'm not sure. But, you know, with this interview with Shamima, she was asked if ISIS had lived up to her aspirations, you know, as though it's like a holiday camp. Oh, was it what you expected, dear? You know, is everything all right?
Oh, it's lovely. You had a great time.
Yeah, and she said, yeah, it did. It was like a normal life, the life that they show on the propaganda videos. It's a normal life. Every now and then there are bombs and stuff, but other than that. And then she said that seeing her first severed head in a bin didn't faze me at all. It was from a captured fighter seized on the battlefield, an enemy of Islam. I thought only of what he would have done to a Muslim woman if he had the chance. And then she said, I'm not the same silly little 15-year-old schoolgirl who ran away from Bethnal Green 4 years ago. No, you're just a stupid 19-year-old now. And she was pregnant when she was found, and then subsequently gave birth to a young boy. Her other two had died of malnutrition and disease. But I think the worst thing that she's done for her case is giving interviews. It's just been one disastrous interview after another. Like, she really shouldn't have. I just really think if she wanted to come back, and not that I'm giving her advice, well, she's already fucked up anyway, but, you know, if she had to do that, she could have just gone to, say, the British embassy somewhere, and they would have done something there. But she's just been giving all these non-stop interviews, and in that she just sounds really arrogant and non-repentant. I mean, there were some people who were trying to defend her, saying, well, yeah, she's still technically in a refugee camp with other ISIS people. What if they do something to her if she speaks out against them? Not really sure if that claim stacks up, because she still wants to be with her husband. She wants to be reunited with him. And she thinks she might get Dutch nationality through him and for her child. So
she's such a little cunt, Iram, is what we're trying to say. Now, she's one of the most deeply unsympathetic individuals I've ever had the misfortune of listening to for longer than 2 minutes. She's telling the British public that we need to have sympathy for her. We need to understand her, what she's been through, which doesn't seem a lot, really. It sounds like she was having a whale of a time until the caliphate nosedive. Now, it's a difficult subject for me, this, because I'm trying to remain objective and principled, and I keep going back and forth on it, because this has produced a rather large ethical and legal minefield for our country, and they have responded in a way that surprised me. So the issue was, as a British citizen, it's against the law to make her stateless. So the idea would be that she has to come back to Britain and face justice in Britain. Now, one of the biggest problems with that is you have to produce evidence in court of crimes, and that's hard to produce when the evidence is slain across Syrian battlefields. It's very difficult. So, I mean, you have to basically, you can only charge her for leaving the country and joining ISIS,
and
regardless
she knows
of what
that.
she's done. Yeah,
she knows that, because in that interview, in another subsequent interview, I think it was, she said, they don't have any evidence against me doing anything dangerous. I was just a housewife for the entire 4 years. Okay. I stayed at home, took care of my husband. Oh, yeah, because, he goes out, hard day work, comes back home. Oh, honey, I'm home. I've been killing a load of infidels. And, I've got a Yazidi slave for you to keep. Oh, I'll put on dinner for you, darling. Yeah, okay. I never did anything dangerous, she said. She says, I never made propaganda. I never encouraged people to come to Syria. They don't really have proof that I did anything that's dangerous.
She said that they don't have any evidence.
She knows what she's saying, and she's been schooled into that. Someone's told her, look, if you want to go back, because basically the caliphate is pretty much fucked now and has been for a while. These people have wanted to come back, because where else are they going to fucking go? Because their dream caliphate didn't turn out to be the way they thought it would.
It's not Disneyland. It's not jihadi Alton Towers as they thought it might be. But I mean, like I say, I keep going back and forth on this. So I just called her a little cunt, and I don't believe I've called anyone that on the podcast before, because when I try and be objective and think about it, I always hit the brick wall that says fuck her. And I don't know what to do about that, because that's not objective, and that's that's thinking more with emotion than principles. So I assumed that the Home Office would bring her home and she'd get tried, and I'd accepted that. And I thought that's what would happen. Then we find out that the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, has stripped her of her citizenship, and it was like, boom, where did that come from? I mean, first of all, the legal question was, well, how is that possible? Well, it's because she holds dual nationality. She has Bangladeshi nationality as well. Therefore, if we removed her UK citizenship, she wouldn't be left stateless because she could still fuck off to Bangladesh if she liked. Now, I didn't expect this. I'm not necessarily it's the right decision on principle, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm unhappy about it. Does that make me a monster?
Well, you are a monster, but for different reasons.
Sure.
I mean, I have absolutely no fucking sympathy for her.
I'm out of fucks to give
0.
for
-5.
jihadist extremists.
I don't feel sorry for her, but I just think, well, this is a knee-jerk reaction because the majority of people don't want her back. So what does Sajid Javid do? Take the easy way out. Oh yeah, let's revoke her citizenship. They've had 4 or 5 years to get their shit in order and try and deal with the people who are going to come back, because they were going to come back, and we knew this, and we knew if something happened that we'd have to have laws in place to deal with them. We don't have adequate laws in place to deal with all of this. I mean, in her case, yeah, she joined a proscribed group. That is illegal in itself. But when she committed that offence, she was a minor.
That's the question. Would this have been an easier debate for us if she was an adult when she left? I think the fact that she was a minor and not legally an adult really muddies the water here, because I keep hitting that fucker wall, and then I think, well, she was just a kid, and then I start getting more reasonable, then I hit the fucker wall again. So I'm not sure where I stand on this.
Well, there were failures on our part. Like, these girls, like, she did her research on ISIS. Like, she really knew what she was doing. She was in touch with the women over there who were telling her all about life in the caliphate. Why were they not monitored? Why did that not flag up on the system that they were looking at this dangerous propaganda online? Why weren't they stopped at the fucking airport? Like, they were minors at the airport, and no one thought, hang on a minute, something doesn't seem right here. I was speaking to a friend of mine.
You haven't got any friends.
Okay, fine. I overheard a conversation where friends were talking, and it made me feel better because it felt like I had friends, okay? So, and he was saying that he has more sympathy for her because he said, come on, you know what it's like as an Asian girl. Yeah, you go to school, you do well academically, but what's life like at home? You're very restricted. And we don't know what happened in her home because her family look very conservative. I think they're regulars at the East London Mosque, which has had very dubious speakers come there. So she's got that environment to deal with. And then who knows, like, what if they said to her, as soon as you leave school, college, that's it, you're getting married. So she thought, okay, let me have a way out of this, and arranged her own marriage to an exotic Dutch jihadi. And I get it. I know what it's like as an Asian woman. I saw constantly girls when I was at school who just weren't allowed to do anything that normal girls were allowed to do. There were some that came in, had to wear a headscarf. They took it off as soon as they got through the gates. Some of them would smoke, have secret mobile phones, and they did not do well in school because they thought, well, what's the fucking point? Because I know I'm going to marry my cousin when I leave school, so
yeah,
what is the point?
I suppose the big issue is really these two things that conflict here. So one is having empathy and making sure the letter of the law is observed absolutely, versus letting people know who join ISIS that they can swan back into the country at the end of it and they will receive due process. I just think it might be far too dangerous of a problem to put the message out there that we are somehow soft
because
on
if
ISIS
you think
fighters.
About it, there's loads of articles I've seen since where all these women who left Canada or America, they want to come back now, and someone was saying what happens with her could set a precedent for the other women who want or men who want to come back. And if they see that she's been treated really well, they might think, oh, okay, we can just go back and join our countries with no problems. And the only reason they want to leave is because ISIS wasn't all it was cracked out to be. They didn't get to kill as many infidels as they wanted. The Muslims weren't treated as well as they wanted. They expected a luxurious, like, tyrannical state, and they didn't get that. They're only leaving now because ISIS is losing. But the whole problem with me was, I get it, it's just life is restricted for Muslim girls and Asian girls, but you know, they don't all go and join fucking terrorist groups. That's not really an excuse. I get it. Like, maybe she was brainwashed, but at what point do you have agency for your own actions? I mean,
I knew joining a beheading, raping death cult at the age of 15 was not a smart move. I didn't know that getting my eyebrow pierced wasn't a smart move. I made that mistake. But, you know, there's a line, you know, piercings, tattoos, murderous death cult. Yeah. So I mean, at 15 you can know a lot.
I have no sympathy at that. No. And also it's quite, I think we're only having this discussion because she's a woman. Like, we're very, very it's a very sexist discussion. We have no sympathy for the men who go out there, but we're a bit more sympathetic to women because, oh, but women are brainwashed and women are under the patriarchy. Well, you know what? Fuck off. No. I'm sorry, but you know, we need to stop seeing women as simply victims. We wouldn't talk about a male fighter in the same way, and we have to realize that women can be just as devout and bloodthirsty as men, because you know, the women who were already there, they were, you know, recruiters for other girls to come. And I think, you know, the former Met police superintendent, Dal Babu, he compared her to the victims of the Rochdale grooming.
That was disgusting.
Gang.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
That was quite outrageous. I'm sorry, there's no comparison. What happened to those girls in the, you know, the child sexual grooming gangs was horrific. They didn't actively seek out their perpetrators. They didn't go out looking to join those gangs. They were, you know, they were groomed and they didn't know what was happening to them, and they were treated in the most disgusting way. Whereas these girls, they clearly must have known that non-Muslims were being killed and Yazidi women were being kept as sexual slaves, and that was okay. And then she compared the people dying in Syria to the Manchester Arena attack victims.
Said it was like for like, wasn't it? The girls slaughtered at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester in May were pretty much the same kind of thing as people getting killed by drones and you know, jihadis being targeted by other forces.
But I've noticed that, you know, there are some on the left who, you know, first of all complained that not enough was done to prevent all this from happening. But those are the same people who wouldn't support the government's prevent strategy, which is, you know, the government part of the government should be terrorism strategy.
The government should be omnipresent, omnipotent, and stop all forms of terrorism, especially people who want to leave the country. Oh, great! Can we have more power and money? No, no, you can't. No, you can't. Yeah. Like, keep out of our emails.
But you know what's happened? It's just with this whole Shamima Begum losing her citizenship, which might be contested actually.
Yeah, she'll appeal.
She'll appeal because, you know, she has, like, her parents were born in Bangladesh, and
she's never stepped foot there, has she?
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. They're from Bangladesh, so
it's so weird.
She's Bangladeshi. You know, I mean, and then Bangladesh responded tonight that we don't want her. I mean, no one fucking wants her.
No one wants Shakira Baglam.
Really... Shakira Bagram, isn't that like a base in Iraq? But you know, who would want her? It's not fair to blame. What's Bangladesh done that they deserve to have this jihadi bride thrust upon them? Hey, you know, I know she's never been here, but you know, she's brown, she's one of you. But you know, this kind of, it almost smacks of racism in a way, because I've noticed every time, you know, whenever a non-white person commits a crime, the first thing people say is, oh, deport him. oh, but where are you going to deport him to? Who's
Yeah.
born in Leeds?
Yeah.
But now they can use this as an excuse and say, yeah, well,
Deport
you
him.
know,
Yeah.
his parents were born in Pakistan, his parents were born in Bangladesh, you know, we can try and deport them. I mean, I don't think the policy is racist because, you know, I don't think Sajid Javid is racist. I mean, he's brown, come on. But I think it's opportunistic, and this was just an easy solution to something that's really, really complex.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not defending her at all, but I think Nikita Malik from the Henry Jackson Society was saying that there are some structures in place to try her, maybe in Iraq. I don't think Syria.
Doesn't Iraq have the death penalty, though?
Yeah. Syria's fucked,
Yeah.
so probably not there. So they can try her there, but all the Kurds are like, no, we want these people out of here. Like, they're your problem.
Yeah.
These people come from Britain. They're your export. And they've got a point, really, because they are from here. I mean, when we had dual nationals here in jail, the first thing we wanted to do was deport them when we could, because they're not our problem, really. So why is it that we're saying that she's not really our problem? She should go to Bangladesh. Okay, well, why Bangladesh? Why not send her to the fucking Samoan Islands? You know, what connection does she have there? She has no connection with Bangladesh, even.
Yeah. Breaking. Mexicans claim responsibility for Shakira Bagram. So I suppose the frame of mind I'm in right now is, I think on principle, if you want to weigh it up and be objective about it, if you take emotion out of the equation and personal feelings, it makes sense to bring her home and try her in a British jail and let her face
If we
justice.
have the laws to deal with that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
But a citizen's been revoked, and it looks like we're going to try and do our utmost to prevent her from returning to the UK, which I'm not going to pretend that I'm unhappy about. But if someone was to say, which is the right decision? I'm in the moment now. This changes from minute to minute with me, unfortunately, at the time. I'm really having a hard time with this one. I don't mind admitting.
Like, it hasn't helped that she's had these constant media interviews. Like, that's the worst thing
She's awful.
done.
She's a little cunt.
It's just-
If you just honestly, that girl, there's nothing sympathetic about that girl whatsoever. She's not selling herself. It's a no from me.
She just needs a better PR agent.
She does.
That's what it is. She needs Max Clifford.
Should we move on to something more cheerful?
Yeah.
Blackface. So, I wanted to get your opinion on a phenomena that appears to be happening a lot at the minute. I think it's due to the advent of social media. What happens is a historical crime is dug up and outrage is produced because it's reinterpreted by the values of today, the standards of today. So, I don't know if you've seen at the moment, John fucking Wayne was trending on Twitter the other day. Did you see this?
Oh God, what's John Wayne done now? Apart from being dead,
he gave an interview in the 70s when apparently, get this, he had some quite racist views.
Wait,
There is utter outrage.
Racist views in the 70s?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not condoning that. I think having racist views in the 70s was bad at that time still. However, why is everyone getting outraged by an interview given with a dead man from the 70s? That was trending on Twitter. People were going insane. John Wayne's cancelled. So another example of this, and I'll just explain what blackface is for a start. In years gone by, people would intentionally put black on their face. It could be soot, it could be shoe polish. They'd black the face up, and they do this to caricature black people in entertainment. It was very racist, mocking black people. We kind of not even giving them jobs in entertainment to be funny or talented or whatever. We're just blacking our face up and dancing around going, look at me, I'm a wog, essentially. It's pretty horrible. So now what happens is, whenever somebody puts black on their face or something resembles a black face, people pretend it's that other thing. So I'm going to read this headline. This is from the Metro. Disney's Mary Poppins branded racist as chimney sweep scene is blackface. Have you seen Mary Poppins, the original?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Chimney. I mean, to be honest...
You know what? I've got a confession.
No.
I've actually never seen Mary Poppins.
Are you even British? Are you even a person?
You know what? I've revoked my citizenship.
Revoke your citizenship. Where are we sending you? You just have to stay in Bradford. I think that's punishment enough, isn't it?
just like stateless in Bradford. Maybe I could get my own movie. Like kind of like Tom Hanks in the Terminal.
Yeah, Mary Poppins, Disney film.
I mean, I know what Mary Poppins
Okay,
is.
great.
I know the songs.
It was made in the 60s.
I know things.
But the thing is, a film made in the 60s, you could conceivably imagine that maybe there had been some racist elements to it. No, there's a dancing scene, a dance number about chimney sweeps, and they have soot on their face because there's soot in chimneys, and people who used to sweep chimneys got soot on their face. We had an instance of a picture in a pub, an old coal mining pub, really old image of the men. You could tell it was old because they went to work in blazers and flat caps. Don't get a lot of that anymore. But they
back when people dressed.
past when people dressed, everyone dressed well, didn't they? They had blackface, and locals complained about the image, saying that that's blackface because the face was black. Not that they were blacking up, I believe is the expression. So people have kicked off about this. So I suppose my question is, what the fuck is wrong with people where they're going back, revisiting things that are seemingly innocuous and then making a big deal of it?
Wasn't it some professor who made the comment in a piece for the New York Times? I mean, what the fuck is New York Times doing? Publishing that? Who cares? I mean, I don't even know who this man is. I don't think anyone cares.
Who, Dick Van Dyke, or the person from the New York?
The person who wrote the piece, some academic who, oh fuck's sake, academics don't even live in the real world.
They're all extremely woke.
Yeah. God. I just think it's ridiculous how you have rows started by like 4 people online, and then it's given far too much media coverage. I mean, we saw the same when with Katy Perry. So she designed a line of shoes, and one of the designs was quote unquote racist because it was a black shoe with blue eyes and red lips painted on it. And
I mean, to be fair, that was a hate crime. That's a terrible piece of fashion.
Hate crime against feet.
Yes,
that is not.
But it's not racist.
Not racist. Those were fucking hideous.
Horrendous.
Shoes. I mean, and then she did like a beige version, which was even more fucking hideous. And you just think that is offensive to fashion. That is offensive to shoes. That is offensive to my feet, and it's offensive to my eyes. But is it racist?
Is it blackface?
No, I mean,
no.
It's not. I mean, maybe like someone in the PR team could have looked at it and thought, yeah, maybe this shoe is going to come across in a certain way. Should we redesign it? But at the same time, like, who gives a fuck? Like 12 people don't like it. I mean, they can't even afford to buy those shoes anyway, so I don't see the problem. I mean, Katy Perry said the shoes were supposed to be a nod to modern art and surrealism. Sorry, but you lost me there, Katy Perry. Modern art is shit. So, I mean, if it was an ode to, I don't know, Raphael, or I don't know, Michelangelo, or
I always play this game with modern art where I quite like is it art or is it chart? Depending on how horrible it is.
It's mostly shart.
It's mostly shart, yeah.
It's mostly shart. I mean, I went in... Oh, where was it that... I was in Tate Britain, and that's actually got really nice paintings in it. That's what you call art. People back then who knew how to paint. And then there was this sort of modern art section where I just couldn't figure out what the fuck I was looking at. Yeah, it's shite. It's shart.
It's shart. Yeah.
Hashtag shart.
So, I mean, I suppose if you want to witness an actual hate crime, just Google, or just go on YouTube, Google on YouTube, Dick Van Dyke's English accent from Mary Poppins. It is horrendous.
Oh,
should we play some of it? Have you heard it?
No, please. No.
In a second. So this is an American trying to do a Cockney accent.
Ladies and gents, poem suitable for the occasion, extemporized and thought up before
Oh my God, my ears, make it stop.
Room in for everyone, gather around.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's enough of that. I mean, that could conceivably be a Cockney who's had a stroke.
This is how Americans think we sound to them.
Yeah.
This is what we sound like to all Americans, don't we?
Basically.
We just sound like Dick Van Dyke. It's just... My ears need to really recover
He's
after
almost
that.
a little bit Dutch. He felt like he put a sh in every other word. Hello,
He sounded like Geert Wilders. If he started talking about Islam, he'd be spot on.
We want the Moroccans out. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, this is not the first racist hoo-ha, because Labour MP Angela Smith was on the BBC's Politics Live show on Monday, and she started talking about how society needed to address racism and anti-Semitism, because there's a massive anti-Semitism problem in the Labour Party. And then she...
Oh, just Tingegate.
So she said, the recent history of the party I've just left suggests that it's not just about being black or funny, different from the BME community. And then someone was saying, a funny what? And so it turns out it sounded like a funny tea. I mean, I am a bit of a funny tea.
You are,
That's why
to be fair.
That is why I struggle to buy foundation.
You're somewhere on the Dulux scale, I'm not sure.
I am.
But here's a problem. So we have people now who are literally espousing anti-racist views, but they don't use the correct terminology, so they become racist. It happened to Splambeddip Cumbersnatch, if you remember.
What?
Benedict Cumberbatch. Can you remember that time he used the word coloured people on American TV?
Yeah, but hang on. So why is coloured people bad, but person of colour is acceptable?
Yeah, it's weird. And
I don't get it. Either they sound the same. I don't get why coloured is worse than person of colour. You're still describing someone coloured.
Yeah, I mean,
sake.
at the time, Splambeddip Flumberplatch was actually celebrating or championing black people getting more roles in the industry, and he thought this was a good thing, and he wanted to support it. So you have like
it's like, oh, my coloured colleagues.
But he said the word. He said the word coloured, so he must be killed. So this is this whole thing now of people not caring what you mean, just focusing solely on what you say, and it's really unfair.
I don't get what she was trying to say. Like, but why did she need to say like a funny tinge or something?
Yeah.
What is that all about?
I think a brain at that moment. What are you doing? What you did? Stop.
It's like that. It's like that moment in Friends. There's always a Friends reference to be made, by the way. So there's this one episode where Ross's cousin comes over to stay.
The one where Ross's cousin comes over to stay.
That one, yeah. How'd you know? So she's really attractive, and he's thinking, "Oh my gosh, she's my cousin.
Oh, I have seen that.
I can't do this. I can't go for my cousin. I'm not Pakistani." So, but then there's this boy.
Does that happen? Does that actually happen?
Asian people marry their
No, I mean...
I'm taking the
Oh,
piss.
fuck me. I thought... Because I've not seen Friends for a while, and I remember that episode because he has like an inner monologue moment, and then you can hear his inner monologue. I genuinely thought he made that joke about Pakistan for a minute. You were so deadpan, I just bought Ross from Friends.
This is how amazingly funny I am.
Yeah,
people
bravo.
that I'm joking sometimes. I really need to actually have a sign around my neck saying "ha ha lol" now. So yeah, he then tries to kiss his cousin, and she says, "What are you doing?" And then he freezes, and he's in his head saying, "Quick, say something," and he doesn't say anything. Say something. Just say any. Nothing could make this work right now. Just say any word that comes to your mind. And I guess, this is kind of what happened in this case. She should... Yeah, I don't get it, though. Funny... What was she trying to say?
I have no idea what she's trying to say.
It's not just about being black or a funny-looking...
Yeah.
Ready Terminator.
It was odd. She had a brain fart, basically, and it wasn't helpful.
Yeah, but people aren't letting her forget it now. And it's just, okay, fine. She says something really stupid. She should be pulled up for it. But is it really worth mentioning that much? I mean, shouldn't we really focus more on what politicians do rather than say?
There's something else maybe worth talking about. I suppose I could ask you about, did you do anything for Darwin Day this year? I know it's big on the calendar for most people.
No.
Nope. Done. I was in London going to an event. I went to Andrew Doyle's comedy event, hanging about with Count Dankula and Sargon of Akkad, the usual deplorables that always get me in trouble. But the next day, the day after Darwin Day, I did go to Westminster Abbey and see Charles Darwin's final resting place, where he's buried in the actual abbey, next to Stephen Hawking as well. Actually, there's a nice little science corner there next to Isaac Newton. I've never been in before. I've been around and on the grounds a few times and taking photos and things like that. Have you ever been in Westminster Abbey?
No, but you said Stephen Hawking and who else?
Charles Darwin, Isaac Newton.
I mean, that must have been like porn for you. Did you need a moment alone there with yourself?
I was quite odd. You know what's really strange as well? I don't know if you've heard about the Tomb of the Unknown Warrior.
So yeah.
I nearly fucking cried. And this is like no reason for what. I was perfectly fine. I'm not a particularly emotional person. We had.
Are you sure it wasn't after relieving yourself to Charles Darwin?
That is forbidden. No masturbating or photography. They're the two rules. So we kited a tour, and there was a guy. He's called the verger. So basically, in church terms, it just means admin. He basically stands on ceremony and helps out with things. He gave us a guided tour. He was very good, actually. I am being a bit unkind. Very balanced, very knowledgeable. But he was talking about the Unknown Warrior. It's where a soldier was brought back from France after the war. They had no idea who he was, what rank he was, but they buried him in one of the most prestigious places in Britain, and they celebrate him. And I just thought it was a really kind of moving idea. And this is something that heads of states come to visit when they come over to the UK, and other countries have adopted this kind of process as well. A lot of other countries have their Unknown Warrior monument.
Yeah, there's one I went to see in DC, is in Arlington Cemetery. So they have the tomb of the unknown, was it the grave of the unknown soldier? And every so often there they have like a little ceremony with the soldiers who are there. It is quite moving, actually. Definitely.
Yeah, it totally took me by surprise. I'm just stood there, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is my throat getting tight? This is weird. What is this weird sensation I've not had since I was 3 years old? And I just got a little bit moved by it all. But so that's how I spent the day after Darwin Day. Went and saw the resting place of Charlie Darwin.
Excellent.
I was waiting because there's a lot of rumours and myths about Charles Darwin having a deathbed conversion to Christianity.
I heard that as well,
Yeah.
and I always thought that was true.
No, not true. His family of surviving daughter, I think, completely dismissed that. But I was waiting for our religious guide to start moving in that direction with his commentary, and I was ready for him, and he didn't. So he got to live that day, Iram. All right, another story I want to pick up on, which should have you concerned. I know I'm already concerned. I've already started wiping my records. This comes from The Independent. Clicking on terrorist propaganda even once could mean 15 years in prison under new law.
Oh, that's me fucked.
Yeah, that's us both fucked. I mean, the stand first on this is anyone who views terrorist propaganda once can be jailed for up to 15 years under new laws that have sparked human rights concerns. So this is MPs debating this, and I think the idea is it's using a hammer to kill a...
Is this like when that girl, the young girl, I can't remember how old she was now, but it was all over the papers. She took her own life, and her father said that she'd been looking at some dodgy things on Instagram, and so everyone decided, we need to bring these social media companies accountable, and if they promote anything or they have any content on there, they need to be shut down. Like, how are you going to control what happens on social media?
Yeah, it's like Katie Price basically campaigning now. Katie Price, the voice of reason, because people send abusive messages about her son online, and it's horrible, it's horrendous, it's inexcusable. It shouldn't be illegal. We shouldn't be criminalising people for saying mean things online. But I suppose terrorist propaganda is a different ballpark. However, from a journalistic point of view, from a research point of view, I want to be able to access this stuff. I want to be able to continue my subscription to Dabiq. I don't know about you.
What about like watching porn? Is that okay?
What now?
Yeah.
Awkward.
No, I mean like in general. Like, we're okay, right?
Yeah. So we're talking like explicit pornographic images seems fine, right? And we're okay for that to be normalised in society.
Woo-hoo.
However, reading words that are favourable towards terrorism is a no-no.
But what does that constitute, though? What do they mean by looking at propaganda online?
I think, let's just pretend we know that, but I would suspect it's propaganda actually disseminated by terrorist groups. So official broadcast information, things like that are coming from terrorist channels. So, from an academic point of view, people must be allowed to study this. I like to know what our enemies think, for a start. I'm not logging on to watch, the 101 best jihadi beheadings or anything like that. But I think I should be able to read their propaganda without having to worry about being facing prosecution and possible jail time.
I think this is all because, like, coming back to that Shamima Begum case, she was looking at a lot of stuff online and, that wasn't flagged up anywhere. So now they're thinking, okay, as soon as someone clicks on something, that's it, boom, we send in the fucking squaddies, we deal with you right there and then. But it's just, again, that's why... governments have absolutely no fucking clue what they're doing half the time. They just want to come out with a really quick soundbite for the newspapers or the news at 10, and that's
they want to sound bold, don't they? They want to sound tough on terror.
Because that's what people want. It's like with the whole Shamima Begum thing. They kept saying, "Don't let her come back. Don't let her come back. We don't want her to come back." And so Sajid Javid was like, "Oh yeah, fuck that bitch. Let's take her, let's send her back to like the Papua New Guinea, and then they can deal with her." And in this case, they're just, oh God, this is really difficult. How do we deal with people looking at propaganda? Maybe we should really have some sort of tools in place where, we can educate youngsters. No, we're just gonna go in and just throw them in jail.
Yeah, I can't see it's not going to happen, is it? This has to be considered on case by case basis, really, doesn't it? What else? Anything else you wanted to pick up on?
That gay school thing.
Gay school. Okay, yeah, so I made a video about this on the YouTubes about a school. Have a guess where it is?
Oh gosh, is it in the Orkney Islands?
No. Have another guess.
Is it Bradistan?
Close, but no cigar.
I give up.
It's bloody Birmingham again, isn't it?
Well, they speak with that accent. What do you expect?
They deserve everything they get, yeah.
No offence to my Brummie friends.
Parkfield School in Birmingham, has been on the receiving end of large numbers of protest from, it's the Muslim community basically in Birmingham.
No, we can't say that. They're the, diverse community, the coloured, funny tinge community.
I've seen newspapers and articles refer to them as concerned parents or parents of students.
Well, you can be Muslim and a concerned parent, Stephen.
Yes, but...
So they're not mutually exclusive.
Sure. So here's my point, though, and this ties me on to something else that's happened to me. So I made this video. The basic gist of the story is this school wants to teach LGBT rights and basically just teach children that gays exist and they have equal standing in society.
Well, it's not just about being LGBT. So this is called the No Outsiders project, and it was piloted by Andrew Moffat, and he's the assistant head teacher at Parkfield Community School. That's in Alum Rock, heavily Muslim area.
He's gay as well, isn't he?
He's gay as well,
right?
He did actually have issues at another school. He was teaching at another school, and he was dealing with conservative Christian parents who didn't like that he was teaching about challenging homophobia.
Shocker.
So this No Outsiders program, I had a look at this program at the school. I had a look at the books. So they read books such as Mommy, Mama and Me and King and King. And I decided to have a look at another school, and I think this one is also in Birmingham. It's called Alston Primary School. And I thought I'll have a look and see if the books are age appropriate. What are these books that they're teaching? Maybe they're making kids watch Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I don't know.
And then the king vigorously penetrates Dave. Yeah, I don't. It's not quite on that level, is it?
It's not. So basically, it's this is in the other school, not Parkfield. So for year 1 pupils, and you're talking about like 5-year-old kids, they were being read Elmer. Elmer is a patchwork elephant. An elephant. Right? I'm not sure how that's really outwardly massively gay, unless maybe it's a subtle sign of the LGBT flag. But other than that, it's just about an elephant who's basically multicoloured and wants to be grey like all the other boring elephants and thinks, can I be grey and non-multicoloured? And so he learns to accept himself. So this is an elephant,
Good
right?
for you, Elmer.
Good for you, Elmer. I used to fucking love Elmer. Like, Elmer was like man then back in the day when I was at school. So, yeah. And then the other one is called 10 Little Pirates, which is a traditional counting rhyming story about pirates sailing out to sea, and then they meet a singing mermaid and a hungry shark.
Hungry
but that
shark.
does... I
Sorry.
don't know. I mean, does that sound like, gay or camp to you? I mean, maybe if the shark is carrying a purse, I don't know.
How fabulous is that shark?
I don't know, darling. I don't know. But then, they get a little bit more mature as they go on to year 5, which are 10-year-old children. And you have books like...
They just whack on Brokeback Mountain for them at that age, I assume.
Exactly, yeah. They basically have books like And Tango Makes Three, which is basically about 2 male penguins.
Is that polygamy? No? Okay.
It's basically, that would actually quite fit into Birmingham as well, considering it's Alum Rock. So basically, that's about 2 male penguins trying to hatch an egg. That's it.
That sounds like a challenge. That sounds like an uphill struggle.
It really does. But then I thought, okay, what are these books like from a parental point of view? And I had a look at the reviews, and all of them were really positive. They were saying, the children enjoy the storylines, and they didn't have any awkward questions. Not like, oh, but why are 2 kings getting married? Why are 2 elephants having a baby? They just really loved the stories.
Yeah, it's basically saying not every relationship's a mummy and a daddy. And that's because that's what society is. Not every relationship's a mummy and a daddy. Yeah.
So basically, and this is just quite shows you what shit show our political system is sometimes. A city councillor was supporting these parents' views, and he was referred to the Authority Standards Committee. So Councillor Mohammed Idris, who's formally reported for allegedly breaching the code of conduct for endorsing quote-unquote... Exactly, homophobic views, quote-unquote. And then he apologised after. But... I just saw these parents demonstrating outside, and they were holding placards like education, not indoctrination. Now, if that isn't ironic, I don't know what it is. Now,
Alanis Morissette is fucking losing her head right now.
You're gonna talk about indoctrination. Okay, these children, when they leave school, when they finish school, they will go to the mosque and they'll just be taught to accept everything they're told in there. I mean, I remember when I went to mosque.
I really need to set the scene here. So we have, let's set the scene. We have a Muslim woman wearing Muslim garb who's probably the daughter of Muslim parents.
And is a funny tinge.
Who's a funny tinge. Has Muslim children, sends them to a Muslim school, and she's complaining about indoctrination. Fuck it, might as well just go home. Forget it.
Yeah,
What's left to say in life? That's it, isn't it? Irony is dead.
It's like they were handing out leaflets to parents saying, brothers and sisters, is it okay for your children to be gay? Are you aware of the resources being used in literacy lessons promoting homosexuality? I mean, how do you promote homosexuality? Never dress bad ever again.
Yeah.
Read this book. I mean,
can you imagine being at the till, like at Tesco? Would you like a bag? Yes. Would you like to help yourself to these selections of fine, refreshing mints and chewing gums? No, thank you. And
would you like a homo?
Can I interest you in some cock? Huh? What? That's a gay promotion as far as I'm concerned. But that's the problem, isn't it? So in these conservative Muslim communities, to be gay is unthinkable. So it's just not a normal thing. It's not a standard thing. We all, outside of these communities, we all have gay friends. We all know gay people. We've all been aware of this phenomenon for quite some time. But it just seems almost non-existent in these conservative Muslim cultures. So they make the strange assumption of thinking that this is learned behaviour, that you can somehow create homosexuals by teaching them about fucking elephants. Not fucking elephants. that teaches them something else. But you know what I'm saying? That they kind of, and you have to ask them, well, when were you taught to be straight? If your sexuality is so loosely weaved that a bit of extracurricular activity could have you chugging on cock by the end of the week, I think you really need to have a long, hard think about where you're heading in life.
It's just
and what you want. You know what I mean? There might be some doubts there that you might want to investigate.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
So
and
backwards.
If they're so bothered about, you know what's right, ironic? Like they go on about how being gay, they're like, oh, we're not against gay people. We would, we don't want to discriminate against anyone, but we just don't believe in being gay, and it's against Islam. But other than that, right, we believe in tolerance.
Tolerance, yeah.
And yeah, I'm thinking, hang on a minute. You're so, like, if you're really that bothered about being, gay rights and LGBT. I mean, Muslim kids are always segregated. Boys are always around boys, girls around girls. If you're that bothered about your kids turning out to be homo, don't keep them in mosque for about 2 hours each day, locked in with other boys. I mean, if anything's going to turn them a bit gay, then it's true.
It's basically looking at somebody else, another man's ass for hours on end down the mosque, basically, isn't it? All that praying.
I mean, these groups, they're also opposed to sex education in school and anything to do with equality. But children in those groups are the most vulnerable when it comes to sexual abuse. A lot of abuse happens within the home and it's covered up, or we see loads of cases where priests or imams have been found to have been molesting children, and there's quite a few court cases going on to that effect. And if these children had been taught about sexual health and education, it would have made them a little bit more aware. And yet it's these fundamentalist groups that just do not want children to know about these issues, and it makes them so vulnerable. They talk about indoctrination. Like I remember when I went to mosque, and you were never taught to challenge anything there. You had to take everything there as truth and for granted. We were told as girls you have to completely cover up. You have to cover your hair, or you'll go to hellfire. This will happen to you. Is that not indoctrination?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, going back to what you were saying about abuses and things like that. So, I mean, just to separate homosexuality from abnormal sort of sexual deviance, because it's something separate. Homosexual happens to be perfectly natural as far as I'm concerned. But what I'm saying is, men preying on young boys is not a homosexual thing. It's just a deviant thing. So we have to draw a line between them. But my issue is, if you're going to have a community or a system that teaches abnormal attitudes towards sex, where you look at the Catholic Church, where it tells you that masturbation's a sin and you're going to hell, where it tells you sex before marriage is a sin and you're going to hell, where you have rife gender segregation within Islam, when you have them kind of abnormal, unnatural conditions, you're going to produce some pretty abnormal, unnatural, sexual, deviant behaviour. Unfortunately, it just makes perfect sense to me that you're going to see these horrible abuses to a higher extent than average society in tightly knit religious communities because of these things. But there's something really bizarre when we were through the looking glass now. So I made this video. And I think I put so I think the title was something about Islamic homophobia. I'd used the term Islamic homophobia because it's a very specific it's a very specific form of homophobia. It's inspired purely by Islamic beliefs. And I got a tweet from a group called London Queer Muslims, which immediately piqued my interest. I thought, oh, this is great. We've got an activist group here, or a collection of open out gay Muslims. This is brilliant. This is exactly what we need, don't we? We need more visibly gay Muslims to let other Muslims know they exist. They can't be whitewashed from a curriculum. We can't pretend it's an illness. These people are perfectly successful, normal, living a good life, and they happen to be gay at the same time. And guess what they tweeted me?
Join us. Become one of us.
Yeah, they tried to indoctrinate me into their gay ways. just trying to pin sequins on me and make me dance Iram and eat quiche. What else is gay?
Sequins, quiche.
No, that's it, isn't it? That's basically it.
Sausage.
Yes, we'll let you have that. So they sent
pink gin.
Pink gin. That is very gay.
Tight trousers.
That could just be obesity, couldn't it? It's not necessarily homosexuality. They tweet
well-groomed eyebrows.
Yeah. Very well-kempt individuals. Slick motherfuckers. So they sent me a tweet saying, there's no such thing as Islamic homophobia. I'm essentially propagating bigotry by using those words. So what kind of fucking world do we live in where a gay Muslim advocacy group is denying the existence of homophobia that's specific to Islam? How can they function? How do they even have a purpose if they're not addressing that?
Oh my God.
So it is worrying. It is strange. I mean, I'm very worried about the double standards, because if it was any other group, any other ideology that were protesting outside schools, it's almost indistinguishable from the kind of thing you saw from the Westboro Baptist Church. Admittedly, the placards were less colourful, but it's that kind of thing, isn't it? It's that literal interpretation. We will challenge anything that's deemed homosexual. And but there's no pushback. It just seems to be swept under the carpets.
Well, the funny thing is, his book Tahrir, or as King of Dawa once called him, his book Tahrir, got involved. Funny because it's about LGBT, do you get it? And they're a non-violent extremist group that wants a global caliphate, and they started getting involved in the school, which just goes to show you how fucked it is.
Yeah.
But also, this was a city that saw the notorious Trojan horse scandal.
Never happened.
Now that was
never happened.
Yeah,
why you lie?
Sorry,
why you lie?
Trojan hoax.
Why are you lying for?
Trojan hoax, as they call it, was an alleged plot by hardline Islamists Zionists to take over some Birmingham schools, and that was in 2014. There was a
this
leaked
country's
document.
fucked, isn't it?
It is. I mean, people keep insisting that it didn't happen, and yet there were inquiries launched into it, and there were inspections at 15 city schools, and now people keep calling it a hoax, and yet we've just seen what's happened in Birmingham recently. Can we not? Why are we pretending there's not a problem?
Yeah, so I mean, Britain's not perfect, but we've made massive progress in terms of gay rights and equal standing for gay people, to the point where, and I mean, I don't want to assume this as a straight man, but many people who are gay can prosper and live a perfectly fine, unharassed lifestyle. They can live the life they want to be. They can manifest the identity that comes most natural to them without fear of harassment, intimidation or violence. To the most part, there's still problems that still need ironing out, of course. It's not perfect, but in comparison to many other places, Britain's doing well, and it's what's promising about that is we constantly striving to do better, so the progression's always on the up anyway. And it just feels like we've opened a portal into the past, and we're not challenging it the way it would have been challenged in the past. We're sort of turning a blind eye to it because these people are considered. So this is intersectional totting up of what's more important. Do we protect the poor beleaguered Muslims, or do we protect the poor beleaguered gays? And it seems like, unfortunately, the gays are out of favour now. You had your moment in the sun, and now we're going to throw you under the bus because the poor beleaguered Muslims deserve more of our understanding than you receiving a new wave of homophobia.
It's just like they seem to get away with it because there was another school in Shock, Birmingham.
Fuck off.
I know. It's just like there's no pattern. Al Hijra School, and a few years ago, a court ruled that they were unlawfully segregating boys and girls. And they were ordered to get their house in order, basically. And they were saying, we can't do it straight away. We'll need time to sort of change the school around and get everyone to mix, blah, blah, blah. And they were still found to be doing it. Boys were being fed lunch before girls. I mean, that happens in a lot of Pakistani households. I won't even lie to you, where the men are fed first and the women always eat last. And you just think, how the fuck is that still happening in 2019 in a school that's not, what is going on here? And they're getting away with it. Like, they're just getting away with it. And it's the same with what's happening in Birmingham. These people will get away with it. I have it on good authority as well that what happened with Park Field, so that program has been running for a while and yet no one had any problems. But then all of a sudden, now there's parents protesting about this. It just makes me wonder, did somebody from the outside get a whiff of what was going on and decide to stir up some tensions? Because it's like with the whole St. Stephen's School in East London that told children not to fast, that these were children under 11, don't fast while at school, and girls shouldn't be wearing hijab as part of the uniform. That policy had been placed for about a year or two, and then all of a sudden, that's it. It suddenly became a massive problem because of outsiders. So, yeah.
I think once somebody gets eyes on these things and then makes a big deal of it, it kind of snowballs, doesn't it? All right, Iram, I think we've pretty much nailed everything for 1 week.
Oh, we haven't had an Aslan award handed out.
I know. I think it's just because everyone's fucked me off.
Everyone's an Aslan.
Everyone's an Aslan.
But you know what?
Especially Shakira Slamlam, whatever she's called.
Yeah. If anything good has come out of this Shamima Begum, it's that it brought King of Dawa out of hiatus.
Yes, King satirist of the Islams. I think that's the term, isn't it? The collective noun for people who worship.
He is the intersectional jihadi, a civil rights decider, and a spokesman for women.
Yeah, so if anyone's
Homo Islamicus.
If anyone's not aware of this Twitter account, it's at King of Dawa. Dawa is Dawah. That's an Islamic term for basically spreading the good word, isn't it? It's going out there and recruiting and spreading the message of the Quran. And he's basically is a Muslim community leader, well respected, in fact, has some incredible hot takes. He's been absent for a while. I mean, I didn't mean to just assume his gender. I assumed King was male. And he seems like this Shakira Speglam thing has brought him back into the fold. Yeah,
I think it's one of those, like, the whole issue of Spaghetti Begum has just brought everybody's opinions out. And that is it, that is it. Everyone has an opinion on spaghetti bolognese. You have to say it.
Yeah.
Just have to have one.
Fuck spagball. All right, so yeah, follow King of Dawa. Follow Iram at Twitter, on Twitter, at Twitter on Iram, at Twitter _ Iram Ramzan 942. No. Follow Iram on Twitter at Iram _ Ramzan as well. Check out sadar.org. Is there anything else you want to point people towards apart from Dabiq?
I'd just like to point everyone towards a righteous path. Oh, if you're ever in Bradford, guys, if you're ever up north in Bradford, I would recommend
Manchester.
Up here. Yeah, I'd like to point you to the interchange station, get back to Manchester. Or get Leeds Bradford Airport. Just get
the fuck out of there as quick as you can.
No, but there's a restaurant here. It's a very
fucking very millions of them. What are you talking about?
I know it is. It's a Syrian restaurant. I don't know if they're pro-Assad or pro-rebel.
Is that not clarified on the menu? No?
No, I really couldn't tell. I mean, the hummus tasted quite I don't know, authoritarian, so maybe pro-Assad, but, you know, then the kebab was quite, you know, very liberal, so... It's called Bab Tuma, and it's a Syrian restaurant, quite central. It's close to the Alhambra Theatre. Oh my God, the food there was to die for. Not literally, don't blow yourself up. It's, I mean, you would probably explode after for eating so much. That is how I felt yesterday. You know, would have been an unintended suicide bomber.
Yeah. I look forward to never going there. All right, I shall add it to my list of places that I will never visit. Just right underneath Pakistan.
Or Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, yeah. Cross them both off. All right, Iram, it's been an absolute pleasure as usual. I'm sure as soon as March comes around, it'll be a nice quiet one, and we'll just need 5 minutes just to say hello, and that'll be it.
By then, we probably would have exported half our population to like the Solomon Islands or something.
You lose your citizenship. It's going to be a threat now, isn't it, for everyone? It's not going to be to the kids like, you better behave or Santa won't come this year. It'll be like, if you don't stop being a little shit, Mr. Javid will be taking your citizenship away. That's it. He's going to be the new bogeyman, isn't he? Oh, you better behave. Get Javid on the phone. Get Javid on the phone. Yes, he is being very naughty. Yes. Okay.
Get the Saj on phone.
Get Saj, yeah. Yes, we will take his passport. Yes, quite right, we will. Oh, yeah. It's been a pleasure.
All right, kid.
Thank you for listening to the Godless Spellchecker podcast. The podcast is a one-man operation produced in my spare time away from my day job, and I love making it for you. If you enjoy what you hear, please consider lending some support. The show is entirely listener supported. I don't sell anything, I don't run ads, and given the alternative and unpopular focus of my content, it's very unlikely to find a sponsor. So there are a number of ways you can support and chip in and help improve the show and give me more time to produce more content. You can become a patron supporter and pledge a monetary amount per month or per episode by visiting patreon.com/gspellchecker. If you can't lend monetary support right now, don't worry, there's other ways you can help the podcast too. You can share it on your various social media networks, or take a moment to leave a review wherever you listen to it. Your support is massively appreciated. Thank you. I think we've all learned something here today.